Okay, so good afternoon and welcome to another class. So today we're going to continue building our Crystal application. In the last class, we did a bit of project setup, setting up some, things that we're going to need, right, in building our application. So now we're going to take it up further. Today we'll see how much we can do. Um, First of all, we're going to work on building a splash screen, just a simple splash screen, and see how much we can do in getting up some of the screens and learning a few things along the line, a few implementations, few concepts along the line. So remember, we are actually working with GetX state management. So it's still going to be an opportunity to dive into GetX, right, and see how much we can learn. So we're going to start, right? So first of all, we know we're working with GitHub, right? We've learned about Git. So what we're going to be doing is that anything we work on, we are going to create a branch for it, right? Anything we work on, we're going to create a branch for it. So that will help us to, kind of know when we have a track record of changes and updates to our application, right? Yeah. So, okay, so we'll start by now on this, we check our GitHub here. I'm just going to click here. You can see that we are actually on the main branch, right? Which was the first branch we actually created, right? So now we want to work on something else, right? I want to work on implementing a splash screen. Okay, so what we will do, we're going to actually now create a branch where we'll work on just that. Okay, so it means that on our remote repository, what is there is just what we worked on the last time, but we want to branch out right locally, which is on our laptop locally, to work on this. When we are done, we now push to the main branch. So you now have like a record of everything you have actually what's done in case you need to probably go back to make some changes at a particular point in time, right? That's the whole concept of version control. So I'm going to just use terminal. I can just click this, but let's use terminal so that we get used to some of these things. So let me open up my terminal. So one first thing you should do is to say git status. That helps us to check if there is any changes, if we have added anything, if we have made any change to our file, which we have not. So you can see on branch main, there's nothing to commit. The working tree is clean. So it means we are good. This is where we stopped. So I'm going to create a new branch. I'll call it Git. I'll say Git branch, which is the convention, Git branch. So I like to just create and check out, right? Creating and checking out means you're creating and at the same time you're moving to that branch. If I just create, I can just create a branch, but I have not moved to that branch, right? So let's create and move. So I'll say git checkout dash B, and then I'm going to now give the name of the branch. So since we are working on a feature, not an update, right? This is just a bit of a convention for most persons, right? So when you're working on a feature, we can now use a prefix ft. If you're working on an update, you can either use update or chore, that's ch, right? It's just convention that some persons use, so it's not like it's cast on stone, right? So since this is a new feature, I'm going to say ft and then splash. I can say splash or splash screen, but let's just use splash, it's shorter, right? Or let's just say splash screen. Okay, so you can see switched to a new branch ft was splash screen, right? So let's now start. Let's start. Um, so we have this welcome screen. So first of all, let's see what we have. Let's recall on our main, when we call my app, in my app, it has what a welcome screen, right? It has this welcome screen, which is also going to drop as our splash screen. So our splash screen is just that, it's a screen you just kind of see before you get to the main application, right? When you open your Facebook app, right, you get to see the Facebook logo before that. So that's a splash screen. It just shows for a few seconds, right? So we can still call it welcome screen, but let's get used to the convention of splash screen. So I'm just going to, first of all, let me rename the file. So instead of welcome, let me just say splash. Okay. Um, okay, I think I spelled that wrongly. I added an extra S. So, okay, so refactor, yes. So just as a shortcut, I click on this, and when you press F2, right, it helps you to just rename, or you right click, right, and then you can see rename, or just use the shortcut F2. Uh, okay, and then I'm just going to do the same thing here. So I'll just double click all, and then F2 also, so that it kind of just changes everything for me. So uh, it should be splash screen. Okay, so we are good. So it syncs, and yeah, okay, so we're good. So what do we do? We want to create a splash screen. Now, the splash screen is just going to carry the logo and maybe a text, right? So just two things and we're fine. Or it can just carry the logo. So interestingly, I said somebody should do a logo, right? And somebody did, but it's just that he didn't now send me the kind of the version I actually want. So what he sent, well, we'll just make use of it, and then when he makes an update, we will work with it. So I'm just going to copy that and drag it into my assets, and then inside the icon folder. So we have this quiz tail. So this is the logo he did. So we'll just work with it, right? Um, so remember we, kind of did some setup in our utils, right? Where we had constants, and in the constants we had colors, we had images, right? Where I said we could have something like this. So we're going to do the same thing. So we already had this image here, but so I'm just going to leave it. So let's create another image string, and this is going to call splash. Let's say splash image, and we can find it in assets, and inside assets we find icons, and then the name, which is what quiz tail logo. So just to make sure I don't have a typo, I'll just act like I want to rename it, and then copy everything, right? And then go back to my, so let me just close all these, right? And then open up what I just need. So, and then paste this here. Okay, so the name has to be exact, right? The path rather has to be what? Exact, and the name of the file with the extension. So this is the app image, right? So we have it in string, so we can actually just call this directly. Okay, so let's come to our splash screen. So in our splash screen, we actually don't need an app bar, right? You actually don't need an app bar in your splash screen. So I'm just going to, I'll just take out, the app bar, right? So let's take that out, and then we can just have a body, okay? So in the body, we'll have a center, which is fine because I want the logo to actually be in the center. So let's have two things. Let's have logo and text. So so since there are two, we want them to kind of be arranged, top bottom. So like I said, one of the things you should learn whenever you have a design is to understand the structure. How are the elements structured? Because if you do not understand that, you end up kind of messing things up and just using unnecessary widgets. Okay. So just an image and a text, right? So just align everything. So let me just so child, I need a column. Okay, and then column has children. So the first I need to kind of make use of an image, right? I need to make use of an image. So there's something I want to check. Okay, so there's this default Flutter logo, right? Which is actually the logo of Flutter. So let's just do something. Let's just save this. I want to confirm something. So you can see this is just the um we can actually use this as our own splash screen, right? We can actually use that, but of course that's not what we want to use. I think I just wanted to show you that you can actually give it a size of say let's say 100. and save that. So you can see it's bigger, right? So, but that's just basically that. Just wanted to show that, but that's not what we want to do. So instead of the Flutter logo, so we want an image from our assets, right? So the name, I'm just going to say app images. I think that's what we called that class, right? App images, import that dot what splash what image. So the importance of this is assuming you're using this image, which sometimes you use some logos and icons in about 5, 6, 10, 20 places in your application. If a new logo is being given, right, all you have to do is just go to one place and make the change, and it would update every other place instead of going to each individual file. So that's the essence of having to save your image string in one folder, one file. So another thing we need is a text. So um our text is just basically going to be um quiz tail. So we should have a string for this, right? Which is what app name. So I'm just going to say app name and just bring that in, and we're good. So you can see how things are just easier, right? And all this, it's in case we have to make some changes, right? In case we have to make some changes. So yeah, you can see this, that our image is not showing, right? So we need to go to our let's first of all confirm that our image, we have set up this to read images, and you can see we haven't. So I'm going to set this up, and then so it should be assets. Yep. And then this. So we want, but we have two folders. So let's instantiate, let's set two of them. We have that, and we have that of what icons, right? If we check here, let's see. Yes, icons. So the icons folder in assets, and then the images folder here. So after this, you actually have to restart. Restarting is better. Not don't do your hot reload, just restart so it can read, the strings and get that. So let's see. And let's hope that actually works. So yeah, we have this. So don't worry, I know it's looking weird. Like I said, your fellow students will give me a much better logo, but let's just use this. Let's say before the next class we should have something. But I like it, and we'll probably have to even see if we can tweak the color of our application to match this. So but that's actually fine. So let's come back here. Um, so for our app, okay, so let's just do some styling. Style. So I can just say theme, right? Theme dot, hold on. Let me see if I can. Let's just do it simple text style for now. Okay. So for the font size, um, let's say 24. Um, font width, let's make it a bold. Let's just save that and see what we have. Okay, well, that's pretty much okay. Let's just give a space. Okay, yes, size box. Since it's column, right? Since they are separated top to bottom, I want to put a space in between. That is, we'll use the height. So let's say 20, right? So we can't. Okay, too many positional arguments. Okay, sorry, this is the wrong place. So um, this is the wrong place. We should put that in between the widgets, right? So let's save that. Okay, that gives the space. So, okay, so we are faced with something. We have a scaffold, and then we have the body, so center, but this is not actually being centered. So let's try something. Let me remove this first and then refresh this. So that means our center, let's add that again. So let me do something. Let me wrap this in a um this is not what I want. Sorry. So let's see. I can do something. Well, let's first of all, let me show you. So I don't know if you have used some of these things. So one thing about the column, there's what we have. We have the main axis alignment, right? Which basically you can see creates a vertical array of what children. So it has also what we call a cross axis. So the main axis. So let me show you. Main axis. So let's say main axis dot I could say dot center, right? And then that gives us, so in the column, right, it now places the items in the center, right, in the column. There is cross, there is what also called the cross axis alignment. Now, the cross axis alignment um does, let me use, for example, start, right? Let me use, for example, what starts. Now, what does that do? It now moves, you can see what happens here. Let me take it out first. Okay, so our main axis alignment, right? Whether you're doing center, there are a lot of what's it called? Um, you have center, you have start, and like so centering. So you can see it places the trident as close to the middle of the main axis as possible. Now, but cross is going to kind of like align them, right? You can actually say align start. So this quick tail will actually come down here, right? You can also do that middle and then, and it all depends on what you actually want to do, right? So let's, for example, if I want to say cross axis, right, which is, so we have dot center dot end, which is end is actually right, start is left or stretch. So it all depends on your design. If I say start, now what happens is that quick tail comes to what the start of what this what the element here. Okay, are we good? Any questions so far? You can actually use the chat if you have any question so far. Okay, so um so that's basically that. So just to reiterate, so for the main axis alignment, right? So it's just more like gives control on how you align the children, right? The children, which is everything here. It could actually be a row. It could be a row. It could be a column, right? It could be a row. It could be a column. So, but it does that along the main axis, and the main axis is just the horizontal axis for a row, okay, and the vertical axis for a column. So take note of that, okay? The main axis is for a row is going to be the horizontal axis, but since we're using a column, is the vertical, right? Which is top to bottom. That's why when we say center, it came what here. Okay, so that's actually for the what's it called? The main axis. So there are a lot of options you have. Let's see. So you can see we have center, we have what's it called? Um or end, space around. So spacing around will give us, let's see. Let me take out this, right? So space around means space both of them, kind of let there be a space around them. You can see the difference. We have space between, you have space between, so there should be a space between two of them, so that gives you much. So they will just basically take up, there will be more like an equal spacing between them. And then we have space evenly. So everything is just dependent on your what you're designing. So you can see even spacing, the top and the bottom, the space is even between these items, right? So um that's basically that, right? So for the cross axis, right? So cross axis is still the same thing, but the cross axis is perpendicular to the main, right? So that means for a row, the cross axis is vertical, And then for a column, the cross axis is horizontal. So it's just like you're trying to like turn things around, right? Or turn the table around. So when we say cross axis, right? When I say cross axis, cross axis alignment. So let's say, for example, dot start, right? So like we said, for a row, the cross axis is what top to bottom vertical, but for a column is horizontal. So that's why when I say start, the start means what it you can see it moves this guy down here. So because for the cross axis for a column, it's what from left to right. Okay, that's horizontal. Okay, so if I say end, it goes to the other side down to this place. Now, the main axis alignment for a column, right? We know it's actually what still back. It goes to what for the column is what vertical, right? So if I say end, right, for the what's it called? You can see it moves it down to the end. You understand? So that's basically something to just note. So but what we want is center, and we are fine. I actually don't need the cross this. I actually don't need that. We are fine because this gives us what we want. Okay, so this is our splash screen. I know it's not looking very pretty or whatever. We'll do styling. We're going to do animation. We'll do all those things, right? But let's understand the basic concepts. Okay, so what we want to do about the splash screen is okay. Now we have gotten our splash screen. Let's assume we are done, right? We want to just display it for just about 2 seconds or 3 seconds, and then go to the next what screen. Okay, just we don't want to take long, just a little, and then we move. Okay, so how do we do that? So first of all, remember we are working with GetX, right? We're working with GetX. That's one. Secondly, we are going to a lot of you when you were working on your application, right? Some of your functions, everything, you just put it in one class. So that's not actually what practice. Okay, that's not best practice. So it's very important that you understand that anything that has to do with your logic, okay, anything that has to do with your logic, it should be in a different file. It should be separate. Okay, and it's just the context of concept of maintaining clean architecture and separate concerns. So we're going to use the power of GetX. We're going to have a separate class, which is going to be our controller class. Now, this controller class is going to hold the logic of our application. Okay, anything that has to do with logic, any function or whatever, right? So that the only thing we have on this particular splash screen class is just UI, right? Your design and whatever. But when it comes to logic, we will create a separate class from that, and that's going to be our controller class, and that's what we're going to be leveraging on GetX support for that. So let's do that. So I'm going to we created a controller folder here. So in here, I'm going to create a controller class called splash controller. So this controller class is for the splash screen. You can have as many controllers as you want. You can have one controller for that connects to like 3 files, or one for each class, or one for all your application. But of course, that's going to be too much code, right? So we're going to just be doing one per class, one for each class. You can do one for two. So let's start. So I'm going to say class splash controller, and it's going to extend our GetX controller. Okay. Okay, so that is basically that. So I just want to do one thing here, just one thing. I want our splash screen to, move to the next screen. Okay. Just after like, maybe 2 seconds, right? After 2 seconds. So this our logo, as it will just display for 2 seconds, and then it will go to the main screen. Okay. So how do we do that? So I'm going to override a method called onInit. So this onInit method is actually called, you can see it's called immediately after the widget is allocated in memory. So we use this method to initialize something for our controller. Okay, so it's actually like the first thing that's what called when you when this widget is actually what's initialized, when you actually want to make use of this class. So the on init method calls is actually called. So we're going to just do something at that what point. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to use what we call a future dot delayed. So this is going to it creates a future that runs this computation after a delay. So after 2 seconds, then we want to do something, right? So it needs a duration, right? And seconds, so I'm just going to say 2 seconds, right? So after that, we now pass a function. So it takes two things, right? Um, so again, the delayed um feature dot delayed takes a duration here, and then it takes a what computation, which is a function, right? So we have created a duration. Sorry. So now we're going to pass in a what function. So if you do control space, it kind of gives you an, it just helps you with suggestions. So I'm going to choose the second one. So I want to navigate to the next screen using GetX. So I don't have to do navigator.dat because now I can't actually use a navigator dot pop because I'll need a context. And you can see in this our class, there is no context here. um Back then when you had this, we can do that navigator here because there is a context what variable, there's an instance here that we can leverage on, but we can't actually do that because there's no what build context. But GetX, with GetX, you don't need to worry yourself. So all I'm going to say is get dot, now I'm going to say off, get off to what the next page. So what this get off will do, it will just what kill out, like get off means I can just say get to. I think I explained this. I can say get to. So this will just go to the next page, and it means that I can go back to the previous page. But when I say get off to this page, so it will go to the next page and take out the previous page out of the stack. So I can't go back there. There's nothing to go back to. It's like you're exiting the application, right? So get off, and then what page do we want to go to? So what do we have? Game screen. So we don't have anything in game screen. So let's get off to game screen, but let me just add something so that we see. So center uh the child of let's just put a text, right? Um Welcome to the game. Okay, so that's fine. So let's come back here and we want to go to what game screen. Just click enter. Put this, and just save. So this requires a const, so I will give it. This also requires a const here, so I'm just going to give it so it stops shouting my name. Okay, so let's save that. So we're going to rerun this, and then we'll test it out, right? We're going to test it out. Okay, so but before then, we have to do something, right? We have to what do something. We can't just run. We actually have to do something. But let me just run it, and then let's see. So I'm going to not reload. I'm going to restart. So let's restart this. Let's stay on our debug console just in case we have any error. So you can see get material controller, and then yeah, so it doesn't move. Of course it will not, right? So we're having image is not showing again. Unable to load assets, so we'll probably have to rerun this. But apart from that, we are not able to go to the next screen. Why? Because yes, we have created it. So what we'll do, we'll come to our game screen, and then we will what pass in this controller, right? We'll pass in this controller into our our splash screen rather. Sorry, we need to pass it into this what splash screen. So I'm just going to here, I'm going to say get dot put. So get dot put, and then what do we want to put? It needs a dependency, something it depends on, something it needs to actually do what it needs to do. So, and that is our splash controller. So let's import this. Okay, so let's save that. Yeah, let's save that. Okay, so let's try to rerun this. Let's rerun this. I hope it sees our asset. It saw it before, so um I may have to do a, let's see. So instance type. So we are still, we're still finding it hard to get this. I don't know why. It saw it before. So I'm just going to do a hack just to get us, because I don't want us to stay long on this. So I'm going to do a hack right now. I'm going to go to my popspec.yaml and add this manually. Um, right. I'm just going to now say this. I'm going to add this manually here. Okay. So this is just a hack, and I just want us so that we can just round this up. I don't want this to kind of delay us. So this is just going to, kind of get it directly, right? So we're just going directly to the image, that particular file to get it. Okay. Okay, so let's just try this again. Let's try this again. Let's see if it gives us the image. Restart. Okay. So okay, yeah, initialized. Okay, so it's still saying asset not found, right? It's still saying asset not found. So that's actually weird because it actually saw it before. Um, so I think, let's see. Um, let's see. Let me just try something just to be sure. I have an idea why it's not working. So, but let me just try something. So let's just use our Flutter logo with a size of 100. Okay, let's just add some necessary const value there. Okay, save that. Okay, so let's rerun this. Let's rerun that. Okay, so I think that should take out any error. Okay, so that actually takes out any error, so we are good. Okay, we are good. Okay, so now we want to transition to the next what's it called? The next screen, right? We want to be able to transition to the next screen. We have created the function. We have created our what's it called? Our init method. We have created the splash controller. So and then we have initialized it, right? So what is saying that, look, when you initialize this, go to the game screen in 2 seconds, right? And our game screen is this, right? Okay, so but it's not moving. So let me see what I am. So I'm putting the splash controller here. Okay. So let's see, what are we not doing? Okay. Okay, so let's go to our app. Okay. So for our home, we said the home is splash screen. So what we're going to do, so this is in GetX now, right? We're going to let's see. I wanted to use routes, but let's not. let's not go into that yet, right? Let's take it one step at a time. So let me show you something. Let me modify this so that we get to, let me just add, or I can actually use this text though. Let me put um, let's wrap this with a gesture, gesture detector. Just want to show you something. Now, what a gesture detector does, I think you should know that by now, is so that we can actually click. So let's say I want to actually show you how to, kind of make use of a controller class or a function. Now, assuming I take this out, and let's say I create a method called mm, navigate to game, right? And in this function, right, this is what I want to do in this function, right? Okay, so I could pass it here. Let's just assume I pass this here to just initialize this. Okay, right? Now, there are two ways. So I could actually decide not to do this and just use this one. So what does this mean? It means that here, um, let me do something. So, okay, const constructor. So I need to take out this guy. Yes. Now, let me create an instance of this controller. I could just say final. Do I really need to use final? Let's say splash controller based on the fact that the type splash controller, and then the name would just be a small letter. Yeah, splash controller. Oh, I think I did not actually even. So, but let me just show you this. So I can now do something like this. So this is how you get access to a function now. So I could say splash controller dot what did we name that? I think navigates to game. Okay, good. So this is how you make use of, you separate concerns, right? So with this instance of the splash controller, now this get dot put is going to what, initialize this what splash controller. So it's like a dependency, right? So with this instance, I now have access to the what function. Okay. So on tapping it, I want to have like a 2 seconds delay, which is what this function actually does. 2 seconds delay, and then get off to the game screen, right? So you can see here, after this, get material this, splash controller has been created, splash controller has been initialized. So we did not have this before, right? And I think I know why. I did not add, what's it called? I did not add, when I initialized, I did not add this parentheses, right? But let's just check this out. So when I click on quiz tail, right? So you can see after 2 seconds, there was a bit of a delay, and then we went to the welcome game, right? So you can, I don't know if you can read this. Let me kind of take it up a bit. Don't know if there's a way to kind of zoom this guy in for now, but you can see that so there's this warning, get dot off. There's a better way to actually do it. So we're going to, I'm going to update so that we actually use it that way. So use a widget function instead. So you can see it now replaces the what route, and the new route is game screen, and we can't go back, right? So if I try to click on the back button, I'm kind of going out of the game. So this is just something else, right? So I go out of the game. Okay. So let's take this back. So assuming I just want to, let's do this. Just take this out and then come back here. Let's go to our controller, and then on init, I just call navigate game, right? So on initializing this splash controller, I want you to also call this function. That's just what I want here. So let's run this and let's see if that will work. So I think probably just have to, let's see if we can come back to this. So get material controller has been initialized. So um let me run this again because to be sure. Okay, so instance, so you can see the instance of this, and then after 2 seconds, it actually was just switched. So we can actually decide that let's make this 5 seconds, right? Just going to save that. And so one key thing you should look at is when the word controller is what initialized, right? Because it has to be what, so it's when it's initialized, it now what runs. It now calls this function. So 5 seconds, and then you see we switch. So that's just, a very interesting way to, um, create a splash screen, right? So we want to, so after this, let's see. We are now in the game screen. So let me see if I can pull up um, what we were supposed to work on, right? So this is what we're supposed to work on. If you can, I think you should be able to screen. So we should have a welcome screen. Actually, we should actually have a welcome screen, which we had welcome to Crystal and an input field and then a button, right? So let's do that. So instead of going to the game screen, we want to go to a welcome screen. So I'm just going to create a new class called welcome screen dot dart. I hope okay. Hope I spelled that well. Yes, okay. So we need a stateless widget. So I'll say welcome screen. Okay, and then return a scaffold, right? We still don't need an app bar. We don't need an app bar here in our welcome screen. We actually don't need an app bar, so we're not going to put it. So, but let's just make this change. So we want to move to the welcome screen, and 5 seconds is actually too much. Let's just keep it at 3. It's very important to clear out all these things, right? Use const where necessary. So sometimes I just like to just add everywhere. So to do that for me. We actually don't need this gesture detector. So let's take it out, remove this widget. Okay, take this out. We don't need it. So make sure your code is clean. Okay, so I think that's fine. Okay, so yeah, welcome screen, that's where we're going to. So also take out for now, I don't want anything to delay, right? You guys already know how to use images, so let's just move quickly. I'll probably sort that out later. So our welcome screen, so let's just run this to be sure that it takes us from the splash screen to the welcome screen. So okay. Good. So yeah, we have an empty canvas here. So let's move. So let me just take, I think that's from this flash. Yes. So let me take from this const here. Just one because like I said, let one thing is to interpret your design. So if this is the first one we're doing, we have a text here, we have another text, 2 text, or you can actually just use one, but let's just say 2 text for now, 2 text widgets. Then we have an input with a text form field. We have this label here, this text, and then we have this button. So everything is just arranged vertically, right? So it's in a column, right? So we can pair this together. We can pair this together if we want, or we can just pair this together and the rest just aligns and then we get to see. So let's just, now, one of the things I'm going to be doing when designing is I'm going to be using a lot of methods, right? So you can see that there's probably just not one way to do it. Okay, so let me get that again because I didn't want to. I think that was the splash screen now. Yes. Okay. Um, that should be here. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so it's not like this is exactly what we need, but just to what's it called? So we don't have to, keep writing stuff. Okay, so what do we have? We just have a text. We still have a column, right? I'm just going to take all this out. Um, import our app name. Okay, so we don't need app name here. So let's just say this is welcome to. Okay, so this is welcome to. Sorry, I think my um system is, yeah. So this is welcome to. Right? We need welcome to Crystal. So this is centered, right? So let's just keep everything. We may not need to center stuff, but let's just leave everything centered for now. Now, the font switch should be normal, right? We have normal is fine. So welcome to and then we can just have another text here, right? That now says Crystal quiz. I think it's just one Z Z quiz tail, and then save that. So you can see that is that, but from our design, this should be smaller. So let me just say 16, and then the crystal should be much bigger, right? We can just say 32, and font weight should be bold. And let's save that. Okay, so we have this. So now talking about color, right? So considering our logo, right? I've not. I'll actually have. I'll get the color code later. So, but let's just um hold on. I'm going to change this. Don't worry. It's kind of like a goldish kind of color. So not too sure, but let's just use this for now. Let's see. So we have this. So welcome to, right, and then quiz tail. Okay. What else? I think that was basically that. Then we now have another, you know, don't worry, I'm going to update this design in the next class. It will look much better and to follow the same color. In fact, I will show you the splash screen. So we need this, right? This input field, and then there's this space here. Okay, so let's get that. So we need another text. So let me just take this and copy this, right? So what was there was choose, or what is there? Choose username, right? And the font weight is not really so. This one is actually not normal. It's let's give it a bigger weight than that. So welcome to. So let it be. So this should be here now. But you can see it just came under, right? And then let's make this 14. Let's make it 14. So we kind of need it to be here, right? We need it to be here. But because we said the main axis alignment should be center, you can see it just centers everything, right? Now, you may want to ask, okay, fine, what of cross axis, right? Okay, can we just say cross axis? Because cross axis, which is kind of like, since it's perpendicular, right? If we say start, right, you can see it doesn't really give us, because everything is with respect to the, what's it called? To the elements, right? So that's actually, will not work. So we need to first of all recognize that okay, fine. Let's look at this again. Like I said, you need to understand the design. So we say we have a column. This first of all, we have a container, right? Or a scaffold, which is this white. And then we now said, okay, fine, let's have a center here for this. And then we have this column of which everything is now arranged this way. So, but the thing is, because how can we actually now get this? These two, we need it to actually start from here, right? So we actually need, if you look at here, we need a container, right? We need, let me get an annotate. Let me annotate this for you, right? So you actually see, because one thing I need you guys to learn is understanding a design. Now, looking at this from here, we have something like this, right? I wish I could extend it more. Okay, let me try to extend it more. So let's say I start from somewhere here. Just follow me. I may not get it exactly, but something like this. So the whole of this is in here, right? So it means that there's a distance, right? There's a distance from this white, from the border, the edge to this blue what line. So we need to also get that margin, right? We need to get that margin. Now, after getting that, then we have this one to worry about. This could be a separate column on its own, which is now centered, right? And then we now have this ones we can actually just, this can actually be another column of its own, right? So there are a lot of ways to actually implement stuff, but in the end, you have to go to with one that will reduce. There shouldn't be much, widgets. If you can do it in less with less widgets, that actually what works. And you should try to reduce hierarchy. There shouldn't be widgets inside of widget that's inside another widget that's inside another widget, kind of deep down, because when you're running your application, it's drawing this what widgets. That means it takes time to have to go down the hierarchy and all that. So we have to reduce all those things. So let me clear this and then let's take this out. Um let's just take this out. And then, so first of all, let me take out this center, right? Let me take out this center, and then we have a column. Now, let me wrap our column in a container. First of all, let me just save this, and then let's see what we have. So you can see everything is here, right? Now, let me wrap this column in a container, right? Take out this const. And then my container, I'm going to give a margin, right? Edge inserts, right? Dot all, meaning both top, bottom, left, right, or I can just give left and right, but I just want to give all. And then let's say 16. Remember how I showed you how you can get this margin from a Figma. So let's just, assume this is 16. I don't want to open Figma now. So let me save this. And then you see that this kind of moves a bit. You can see that it moves a bit. Okay. So, and it keeps everything here. So we need these two. So what if, right? What if we now create a column for these two, right? Such that we can just wrap it in the center. Can that work? Or there's a widget called align, right? Can align work? So let's just say align, and align, you have to choose an alignment, and then we have align dot center. So let's see if this will work. If it doesn't, we switch to something else. So it does, but it's now doing it for all of them. So let's take out this guy, because we don't want to center everything. So let's just take it up, and then let's use a cross instead, cross axis alignment dot start. So it should start here. Let's save that. Okay, so you see we have this now. Okay, so the welcome to, because of this align, stays there, means I can also use this align here. Wrap its widgets align, and then the alignment is alignment.center. So that kind of keeps things. So let's refresh, save that, and then we have that. Okay, so that's actually look, that's better, right? So we still have this our username here and all that. Everything, so everything is still having is the alignment is aligned to the start. Okay. So we'll do a much more beautiful stuff. So let's just get our text field, right? So our text, we have the text form field, right? Or we just use text field rather. Okay. So when I just run this, just save that. You can see it gives us this here, but this is not what we want, right? So let's kind of style it a bit. So you can see there are a lot of properties here. So let's take the decoration, which requires an input decoration, right? So once I save that, we'll just be doing it one by one and then seeing changes. So there's no changes here per se. So let's do something else. Let's give it a border, right? So let's give it a border. Um, so let's see. Inputs. We can still use an input. Let's see something. Sorry. It needs a border rather. So um inputs border rather inputs border. So it's outline input border. So let's use outline input what border. So that should give us yeah, that gives us this, right? Outline input border. Um so when I click on this, it means that I should be able to what type, right? So, but from what we have, we need a bit of space here. Now, you'd see people use this thing. I think that's the name. Yeah, spacer. So I'm going to try to introduce you guys to, a lot of widgets as much as I can. You get to see them and then why you can use them and why you cannot use them, right? Okay, which is all dependent. So a spacer widget gives you kind of like a spacing. So it creates a flexible space to insert into a flexible what widget, right? Now let me so okay, sorry. So this is what a spacer does, right? There are places where you can actually use it and places where you shouldn't. So you're going to, but like I said, I'm just going to try to introduce you guys to widgets. Sorry, I think I have to just let me just rerun this. Right. So while that is doing, so what we're going to just do, we had I think we created a dimension for spacing. So let's check here in our sizes. Yes, we have this default space. We haven't have space between what sections. So we'll just use this instead, right? We're going to just use this. So I think I'll just have to stop and run this again. So we're going to just use this. So what I'll do is in my welcome screen, I'm going to say const sized box. So we're using a column, so it's a height to get it, create a distance, and then I'll just say app sizes, and then dots. I think that was space between sections. Okay, well, it's not here. No, 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 not here. We need it before the username. Yes, before the username. Right? Yes, before the username. After the username, we can now use what's it called? Space between input fields. Though that's actually much, though. Let's see, we need something smaller. So let's create something smaller. I can just duplicate this and say space between, this one should be space between items SM. So that I can have, let's say, like 8.0, right? And then I can use it here. Yes, so I think this works, right? Okay. Um, okay, so okay, we don't need a const here because we have this particular const in this column, so I have to take that out. And then take this out. Okay, so our app is still running. So so we have our input decoration, right? So the last thing we actually need is a button, right? We need a button. So I'm going to um so let's see. Sometimes when you want to, if you, because you will not be able to know all the widgets that are available, right? Sometimes what I do based on what I want to do, I can just start typing and see suggestions. Like I could just start typing button. That's what I used to do, right? And then I'll see if there's anything button here that I can use. Button bar doesn't actually even sound like it. You understand? Back button. So you can see icon button. So that means okay, but it's not what I need, right? I'll just keep going. You can see there's even text button. You understand? So it's a button that probably carries a text, right? From what it actually says. There's a lot text button dot icon and all that drawer button, field button. So from the word field button, that actually tells me that okay, I think this icon, this button will actually have a color, a background color or something, right? So um let's let's actually check this field button, right? Um and let's see how it looks. So I'm just going to um for now this takes on press it takes a function, but I don't want to, let's take out this const here, but I don't want to pass in any value for now. So the child, um I don't think I've used the field button before, but let's learn together. So let me assume, and then let's see. I think what we had was let's start, and then we had something like this. So let me save that, and then let's see what this gives us. So, well, you can see the field button gives us this with a corner radius, right? And then the text here, which, well, let's see if we have flexibility to so clip this, clip behavior on focus change on hover style. So there's a style. That means we can actually style this button if we don't like this. So it takes a button. The type of style is a button style, right? So in a button style, we can now choose animation duration, background color, elevation, fixed size, and all that, padding, shadow color, shape, side, and all that, right? So um yeah, so that's just one button. Let's try, let's see another one. I think we saw text button, right? So let's see text button. Let's see what this looks like, right? So it needs a function, so I'm just going to pass, sorry, just pass in this, but I'm not going to give any function yet. So the child should be a text, right? Which should have we should say let's start. Okay, so I need to use this let's start. That's just to, sorry, um what's it called? Okay, let's do this. Can just, since I need to use a, I could do this. Let's start. So let me save that. So let's see how this button looks. So, oh, it's just a text button, meaning that it's just this, right? But there's no, there's no background, which is not, which is kind of not what we want. This is what we actually want here. Okay, so there are a lot of buttons, so it all depends, at least it all depends on what you, so you can use text button like this for, maybe when you have a next design and all those stuff like this. Next, now if you do not want to do this, you could actually just even use a text button here, but at least we have seen field button. So field button, we can use a field button when we get to this screen, or we can design our own. Now, how can we design our own? Let's assume we want to, because we need to get this particular style. So I'm just going to show you. Let's use, so we're going to use a container, right? As we want to design our own button so that we get it the way we want, right? So we're going to use a container. And for the width, I can say, okay, let the width be, now remember the width here in this design, it kind of starts from here to here, right? So there's already margin that we are applying. So, but apart from the margin, it's kind of filling the whole width. So, there's this um let me see if I can remember it. Yes, double dot infinity. So that will just kind of take the full full width, right? And then for height, you can always check your design to be sure of what the height is. But let me just assume it's 48, right? We don't have a 48 here. I think the highest we have. So it means you can now go and create a button size. I don't think we did. You can create a button what size, right? I could just say, okay, fine. This is for what buttons. Trust me, this feels like work, but it is very important. So I could just say button height. Okay, and I could have different values. So this could be for 36. Let's just say for 36, right? So here I'm just going to say app sizes dot button height. Okay. And then we need to we need to decorate it basically. So we need to give it a corner radius, we need to give it a background color, right? So I'm going to call decoration, and I'm going to use the box decoration, right? Because that will give us what we need. So in the box decoration, we have a color. This represents the background, right? So this is what we have here, this color, right? But we need to, so I'm not going to save it yet. So we'll update that, make that update later, right? So so that we can have it as a default. But for now, let's just use this, right? So let's save and see what we are doing so far. Control S just to save. So this is what we have so far. It means we need a sized box with app space between items. Let's see. I think we may even need a space between sections. Let's save and see. So we need space between sections, right? Because we need something bigger. Space between sections. Yeah, and that's a bit bigger. So you can see our button height is actually small. So uh let's keep it at the 48 and hope that is actually that's not too much. Okay, so that's fine. So we need to do something else. Um we need a corner radius, right? So which is border radius, and then we say border radius um dot circular, and then we give it a radius value. So let's say 8, a radius of 8. So that should give us some corners here. Good. Okay, so it takes the primary color. 8 is actually much. I think we had something for radius, didn't we? We didn't have. Okay. Well, we can create our own, sure. I think I'll leave you to do that. So let's do a 4. I kind of don't like much. Okay, this is fine. This is fine. So so that's our container, right? And then so our container actually takes a child, right? So our child is just going to be a text, which will say um let's start. So let's save that. Okay, so but this is where it is. So let's place it in the center and save that. And there you go. And then style, give it a color. Um so the color okay dot no, sorry, style, text style before we add that. So we need a color property, and then colors dot white. So let's save that. I don't think that okay. So yeah, so we're just going to, so this is what we have. So what I can do, I can just, let's just add some const everywhere to make things good. So assuming I center this column, or I can just say um, main axis, right? So this is going to be vertically, right? Um, vertically align this to the center, right? Let me save that. So that should just bring things here. So let's space this guy. So let me go to my sizes. Um, space between sections. Let me say I don't space between sections. So let's have a space between sections small. Let's have a space between section medium. Let's have a space between section large. Right? Let me use this. So 32, let's make this 48, and I can actually just make this 56. Okay. So this is one way though, right? So space between section, let's do medium, let's do large. And then let's save that here. I think I'm using it in the right place. Okay, so after I need this also at the username, that's before the username, which is here. Replace this. Okay, so it kind of looks a bit so let's me read this to medium, then save that. That brings the button a bit close. Okay, so we can actually just, this is something we can work with, right? We can actually work with this. So I hope this color actually does justice to this. So this is actually what we have. Not looking bad, actually. So we can choose our username. So um, what we're going to do, so you can notice that when we click on it, it's giving us this odd color. That's because it's kind of taking the default color. So you can actually do some customization on your border, right? On your this thing, right? Where we have this whole border side, right? We have border side, so you can actually do some stuff there, but I don't think that's what we want to do for now, right? So border side is just it creates a rounded rectangle outline border for the input system, but we're already using this. So that's not actually where I wanted. That was inside decoration. In the text field itself, yes, this is what I needed. In the text field itself, you can see we have a lot of stuff here, right? Okay, so autofocus is, so the autofocus is this when you actually open up this screen, right? Should there be focus on the text? That means when I just move to this screen, there'll be focus here, and that will actually prompt my keyboard to actually what open up, right? So is it enabled, focus node and a lot of that. So we have some input formatters, of course, where you want to format your input, right? You can just pass that as a list, keyboard type, max length, and a lot of other things that you can actually work on. So for now, that's basically just where we'll just leave it at that, right? What I'm going to do is, because this is going to be part of your portfolio, there are certain things I'm just going to leave out and you implement it yourself, right? Because I don't want a situation, I don't want you guys to have the exact same thing. It's like you just followed the exact video and then that's in your portfolio. No, there are other things you will implement yourself that I will not implement here, but you will have it, right? And that will form part of your tasks, right? So we have been able to do the splash screen. So let's just run this from the top. Okay, I think we're supposed to change that image. So hopefully it reads it, but let's actually just see what we have. Okay, so it gives us this. Welcome to Quiz What Tail. So yeah. What else can we do? We don't actually have much time. So looking at this, where is it? Okay, so the game screen itself, right? We can now work on the game screen. I think I'll just do some updates to this design. So we can now work on the game screen, where we have all this. So this is going to take a lot of time, and I don't want to start and stop, right? So based on our based on what we have in our, based on this particular feature, we were working on the splash screen. So we're going to keep it at that, right? So let's ask ourselves, what can we modify? What can we update to make it look much better? So always check for problems here. Yeah, so this says we should use const with this constructor. So this is for our previous color, right? So well, let's see, we may go back to it or we may not. That then let's just leave that for another day. So let's check if there's anything we can actually do better to make our code, much more, so the whole of this. So the thing about kind of making things, for example, this button, this our container is acting as a button here, right? And assuming we want to reuse this, right? We can now create this, make it a component. So I'm just going to make a separate widget. And how do I do that? I'll just click on it, click on the bulb, and you can see extract what widgets. So when I click on extract widgets, it asks for the name, and I'll now say, let's say primary. Let's not use default name. Okay, I could just say app primary button. Right? So this is it. Now, then I'll go to my utils. Under my util okay, these widgets, yes. So I'm going to move this here. So I'm going to create a file, call it app, sorry, app primary button dot dart. Okay, sorry, that's the plus, should be underscore. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to come to my welcome screen, right? Then I'll just move this guy out of here and then move it here. Okay, so import material, import the app sizes class, and then come here and then import this. And then we are good to go. So now, but another thing is in this button, assuming I want to use it somewhere else, it means that it will also carry let's start, but that may not be the text I want to make use of. So we have to make the text dynamic. So when you're calling the button, when you're creating an instance, right, you pass in the text you want. So I'm going to go back here. So instead of this, I'm just going to create a final variable. Final, I'll say button text, right? Because it should be of type string. Okay, so because it's final, I have to initialize it. So I'm going to come here, add final field, right? So this is required. So I'm just going to copy this, or cut it rather. And instead, I'm now going to pass in the variable. So what happens is when you instantiate this, right? So I'm going to take out this const because, yeah. So when you instantiate this, you have to pass in the text you want, right? And then get to use it the way you want to use it, right? So you can see now it's shouting. So it requires that I pass in the named parameter. So you need to look at this named parameter. We learned about this, meaning that I have to what's called the particular parameter, which is the button text, and then give it this, right? Can just save that, and everything will still be fine, right? But let's go further. What if I still want to use the same button, but I want the color to be dynamic also, right? You can also do that, right? So back here in the primary button, I think I'll just round this up here. So instead of this color, right, I'm just going to copy this. So I can create a color, this, I'm going to say final color, button color, right? And then add that here. And then instead of passing in this, I'm just going to pass in button color. So the user can pass in whatever he wants. So because the button color can change, right? I should also allow the text color to change. You're right, because if the person is using a background color that white doesn't give a very good contrast, you have defeated the purpose of reusability and all that. So it means I can now I can say text color. So this is just me creating these instant variables in one line, right? And then let's instantiate that. So instead of passing colors.white, for the color variable, I'll just pass in text color and take out this const. Okay, so back here, I'll pass in the button color, which is this, and then I'll pass in the text color, which is colors.white. And we are good. So when I run it, everything still works fine. I can change this to black, and you get to see how we can actually reuse it. So I'm going to save that. You can see it changes to black. Okay, so yes, so that's just that. Let's just add our const everywhere to make sure that code is neat. Okay, so that's actually that. Now you can actually you can extract widgets that are kind of reusable. It could be one widget, it could be a list of widgets, it could be two or more widgets rather, right? You can just extract them to a separate widget to make your code kind of much more easier, right? So I could even decide to extract these two, right, into one separate widget, right, and align them. But so that's basically that. So um I don't think this could not be open. I think I had fixed this. Let me rerun this to be sure that I don't have any problem, right? Do a hot restart. Okay, so let's see our app. I think I had renamed this already, so this actually should not. Try changing name to lowercase. I think I changed this app. This is app underscore primary and this. Okay, so don't worry. I think that's just a um, kind of like an old error or something. That file doesn't exist anymore. Okay, or does it? I think it does, but the question is where? Where does it exist? So I need to find this. Here. I don't think it does though. Looking like an old error or something. Okay, but that's fine. So, so yes, we're done. So the last thing I'm just going to do is let's push what we have done, right? Let's push it to GitHub, right? So I'll do a git status. So for every step that we do, make sure follow this process, right? So I'm expecting that you actually do this also on your code, right? This same thing, make your little and tiny adjustments one step at a time, right? And then so I'm going to just for now, right? I'm just going to we'll learn more stuff, right? There are certain things you don't need to actually push, but we'll learn about that later. So I'm just going to do a git add dot, that's to add everything, and then just do git status again to be sure. Okay, so these have been modified and all that. Okay, so I'm just going to now do um git commit dash m. Now my git commit message, I would say, let's just say implement splash screen, or let's say implemented, because implemented splash screen functionality. So it tries to be as descriptive as possible. So I've committed that, right? So all these colors should go out here. So so I'm going to now do git push origin. So we want to push our branch to the remote branch, which is called origin. So what's our branch? Our branch is ft splash screen. So um pushing that, and you can see we are what's done. Now you can see it will show you something like this called what create pull requests, right? I think I explained the concept of pull request, right? So let's see if we can, let me just try to open that up, right? So what that does is this. Okay, you have actually done your part, right? You've done your own part of the code. You have pushed it. So the pull request there is, hey guys, I'm done with the splash screen. Let's say David or Ohima is working on login. Let's say Pelumi is working on sign up. Let's say Dave, the other David is Shodimbara, right? Is working on homepage, right? But we had already done the project setup. So of course everybody's waiting for splash screen in a way, right? So but of course you don't really need to wait. You can always merge things later. So this is now saying, now I clicked on the link, right? Okay, so let me just show you my browser, right? So you get to see how it looks on GitHub. So I've clicked on the link. So you can see open a pull request, right? So create a new pull request by comparing changes across two branches. So this is a change I want to compare. I want to compare the changes between my branch, which is the splash screen, and the base branch, which is called what? Main. And this, you can see, this is the what uh title of the commits, right? I can still give. So this is what you guys are going to be doing for me. I'm going to take a screenshot of um this what's it called, my of this screen, the screen I just did. And every time, as far as design is concerned, you will learn it because I need to see it when you guys start collaborating, right? So let me just quickly save that. I just want to, let me just get that screenshot quickly, just a second. um okay, so okay, so there are several ways you can do it. Well, whichever way, just the major thing is just get the screenshot, right? Just get the screenshot. So I have done, let me bring out, where's my, so I can just do a clip. Let me just get it from here, right? So this is just, so I think I've taken a snippet. So hold on, let me be sure that it's in my clipboard. Okay, let me try that again. Okay. So I think that's took the whole screen. Okay. It's actually taking the whole screen. I actually just want a portion of the screen. So just you can see it's taking the whole screen, but I don't want that. I want a portion of the screen, just a portion of it. But it's capturing, I'm using two screens, so it's capturing one. So let me move this here just a second. Let me move this here so that I can just get what I need. Let me do this quickly. So don't save. Okay, so okay. Okay, so I think okay. Let's see what I was able to capture. Okay, fine. I've gotten what I need. So it's already on my clipboard, so I can just copy it, right? And then I'll come in the description and paste it, right? So the essence of this is when you're actually now designing, right? You're building your app and you're design. When you're creating a pull request, whoever it is should be able to see what you've actually done. Don't just give code, right? Code is easier to track based on functionality, right? But based on UI, I can't just guess your UI by looking at the code. So adding a screenshot to your description actually just what helps. So once you're done, you click on create pull request. So this means you're now telling everyone, okay, look, I've done my part. Okay, here is my part. So check it out, review it. If it's fine, then merge it to the what main. So that means bring the splash screen. You can see this here. Wants to merge one commit into what main, right? It means that I want to add what I have done to what was already what's there. Okay, so that we'll now have project structure and splash screen together. So for whoever now needs to continue from there. So you can see the screenshot. So this will help me actually review your design. I could say, okay, well, the spacing here is too much or that, whatever. And then I could just go to files change. You can go to files change. So this is one thing I would advise every one of you. Whenever you create a pull request, come to files changed and just go through, right? Go through your code. It's very important. You need to be the first person to review your code. Go through it. You see the changes. The red here shows what went out. Green shows what was added, right? You can see this shows what green means this was added, red means this was what removed. Okay, go through your code, make sure that you everything is actually what's working, because sometimes when you are developing, we miss certain things, right? So this is just an added way. So be the reviewer of your own code first. You should first review your code before someone else, right? So when that is done, well, and your so then after that you can actually just merge it, right? So let me come here, and we can just click on what merge. So if there's no issues, no conflicts, don't worry, you guys will learn about conflicts because it will happen to you. You can just merge. But you see, this only do this if you're working on your own. If you're working in a team, one, you guys will agree, because only one person should do this, one or two, but it should be someone more technical, right? For example, when you guys are working on your capstone project, I'll be the one to merge, or I assign it to someone. But this has to be someone who is more detail oriented, more technical, someone who can review people's code and know that, okay, you know what, this is actually good to go, this is not good to go. Okay, so I'll just merge this, right, so that I can show you guys the next thing. So this now means that on the remote branch now has two things: the project structure and the splash screen together. Now, I'll just do this and then we'll shut down. So before now on our local, what we have is splash screen. If I go to dev, I'm going to switch to dev by saying git checkout. Sorry, I did say dev main rather, which is that. So it's dev is actually a default thing. So, but let's just say git checkout main. Uh, um, so you can see it switched. Now, but the moment it switched, you can see all these errors, all these red things here. That's because locally, my main branch does not actually have these things. It doesn't actually have it. I did it in my what's it called, in the um splash screen branch, right? So what we will do after the whole of this, um is to, that's why you see all this in red, but you can see these screens are okay here. On your file changes, you see you have only game screen, game status, welcome screen. These files are all crossed out. So what I'll do, I'll go to my terminal and do what we call a git pull, right? This git pull means you want to what, pull from the what remote. You want to get the changes, the updates. So git pull origin. Origin is the name of the remote, and what branch do you want to pull in is the main branch. So git pull origin main. So that will what give us the what update. So you can see the changes, what has been added. So now we have splash screen show up and we are good. Okay, so that's actually how the whole git works. Don't you keep learning it and getting used to it as you would work. So now we are in our main branch, which is the main. So like the word says, main branch, main. So when you want to work on the next thing, you have to be very careful. After you have pulled and everything is okay, please check out to the next branch. So in our next class, we're going to be working on the game screen, right? So I'm just going to create a branch so that I don't forget. I'll just say git checkout dash b ft game screen. We'll just do UI and then later I'll go to functionality. So I'll check that out. So that changes to ft game screen so that I can start making whatever changes, because you should not make changes in the main branch. you do not work on the main what branch. So I did this now so that I don't forget in our next class and just start coding on the main what branch. Okay. So that's basically what we're going to round up for today, right? Are there any questions before we shut down? Okay, so I'll take that as a no. Okay, so thank you very much, guys, for today, and we meet in our next class on Thursday. I'm going to share the code with you, right? So I'll share the GitHub with you so you can actually clone it and then make the necessary updates. Okay, so thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.